All right, well, good evening, everybody. This is the November 15th meeting of the Reston Planning and Zoning Committee. I'm Rob Walker, and we have a very full agenda tonight, so we're going to just jump right into it while a few other members are, joining us. I did get notice from William Pegues, who's not going to be able to make it, and I don't think Rebecca is going to be able to make it tonight as two definites. So I did send out a revised agenda. I apologize for the lateness of that, but there were a couple of things that I put some feelers out for the membership whose terms expire at the end of 2021, and I've been waiting for that feedback to come back. The only person I haven't heard from is John Capilla. So John, I was asking if you were on the line.
Hey, Rob, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why I've had so much trouble with audio here. I apologize. But I'm here.
So John, are you planning on extending, renewing your term?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. So the only person who did not wish to extend their term was Shelley. I think, she had some conflicts. So that would take our present numbers from 16 down to 15 total members. And as some of you know, we kind of our bylaws talk about where we can have 15 regular members and up to 3 associate members. So the question now becomes, if we're down to 15 total members, would we want to entertain the 3 associate members to become full members if they so desire? And that's kind of open for discussion.
Rob?
Yes, Tammy?
This is Tammy, and we have lost our friend Ron Weber. So that takes us down lower. He no longer lives in Reston.
Tammy, that his number was not in the count that I just referred to.
Okay, I looked at the people that you send the notices to and counted.
Well, remember, there's not, David and Sue are one address, and there's a couple other people on our mailing list sometimes that have dual. That's not a perfect count. Right now?
Well, let's go over that later then.
Yeah. So right now the question becomes if we want to do what I just described in terms of offering the associates full membership.
Rob, who are the associates?
So the associates, it's in the agenda. The associate members are Katie McLean, Michelle Kimmel, and Rebecca Zakowitz.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry.
I so move. I think they've all been added things, perspectives that we don't have. Structural engineer and our scribe and a person who's well-versed in local stuff. I think they all have added things.
I agree. I second that.
So I certainly support that motion, and I'm going to suggest, is anybody against that motion? Please speak up. All right, hearing none, what I'm going to do independently, I'll ask Katie, Michelle, and Rebecca each offline if they wish to be a full-time member, because maybe time crunch or whatever, there might be some reasons not to, but at least we'll give them that opportunity. And if they so desire, then we could kind of formally vote everybody, because I do think we have to take a formal vote, whether it's in December or January. We'll all the new members, myself included, I'm one of the 5 that's term expired. We'll we will officially act on that. Probably it'd be nice to do that at our December meeting. Okay, so we're going to move on to the second item on the agenda. That's the Fannie Mae development. So we do have two applications tonight, the Fannie Mae, and then the one that I omitted was the fact that Haley Rise had to come back for us for a vote. If you recall at the last meeting, we had asked them to do that, and I just didn't get that on the agenda. So Fannie Mae is up first. This was a development that was before us. I didn't recall the exact time period that they've been for us before. We had some comments. There's been a flurry of emails and some information that was submitted both electronically, and then I think we've all received a packet, or you should have received a packet in the mail. And so I know I saw, Mike Van Atta, I saw your face. I saw Scott Adams' name pop up, and I'm not sure who's presenting tonight, but on behalf of the applicant.
Hey, Rob, it's Scott Adams. I'll go ahead and kick it off for our team.
Excellent. Thank you, Scott.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for having us back tonight. We're very excited to be with you tonight talking about this project, which is going to add additional residential home ownership options within walking distance of Metro in Reston. By way of introduction, I'm Scott Adams. I'm a land use attorney at McGuire Woods. We've got the rest of our team on with us tonight. Steve Caniglio with Innovative Development Group, Mike Van Atta from McGuire Woods, John Amatetti and Dennis Dixon from VICA, Matt Clark and Andrea Crossett from Land Design, who are landscape architects, and Kevin Feline from Wells and Associates as well. So as Rob mentioned, this is a follow-up from a meeting that we had with this committee back in December of last year. And so for tonight, because it's been a while since we were here, we did want to start off by just giving you a quick refresher on the project, and then move into talking about some of the significant positive changes that have been made since the last time we were here, to really increase the overall open space on the project and open up a great majority of it to the public as publicly accessible open space. So just to maybe get you a little bit situated, and if we go to the next slide, Mike, the site is the old Fannie Mae property. It's a little over 28 acres north of Sunset Hills Road, east of Old Reston. It's about 3/4 of a mile from both the Wheelie-Reston metro station, but also the Reston Town Center station. And you'll notice that the southern portion of the property is actually bisected by the WVOD Trail. So you've got sort of a small sliver of the property that lies between the WVOD and Sunset Hills. The site's currently zoned PDC pursuant to zoning approval from the early 90s. And that approval allowed for development of 850,000 square feet of office at a 0.62 FAR, consisting of 3 office buildings. And the site's currently developed with one of those office buildings. And then there are 2 unbuilt but approved office buildings at about 450,000 square feet of additional density. What we're planning, I guess, for this project is to utilize one of the comprehensive plan options for redevelopment of the site, which is for planned mixed use up to a 0.5 FAR. So retaining that existing office building, but coming in at a lower density with some residential than what's currently approved. So back in December, when we were here, we presented to you a residential layout with for sale townhomes. And that layout included reshaping some of the existing ponds that were on the site, building public amenities south of the WVOD Trail, but really sort of limited public access to the site. In addition, a couple of new parking areas that were proposed on the property. And there were a number of questions raised about just the design and the layout and sort of how land consumptive that was. Additionally, a desire to protect some of the existing tree save areas and the previously approved open space. And really, I think a push to make the site more publicly accessible. in addition, we certainly heard the dislike of the new parking areas. And so the new plan that we've been working on for almost the past year still calls for the residential townhouses at a 0.5 FAR, so a reduction of 0.12 FAR from what's currently approved, and maintains a lot of the commitments we talked about the last time in terms of green building certification, the commitment to providing both ADUs and WDUs, and a lot of the other standard commitments that we typically make in townhouse projects. But we've made a number of fairly significant, we think, positive changes to the project to respond to a lot of the comments that we received from the committee. I think first and foremost, really shifting and tightening up the design so that we've got a much more compact layout with the townhouses that's taking up less land with buildings and roads. And what that's allowed us to do is to not encroach into any of the existing ponds that are out there. So those ponds will stay as they currently are developed on the site. Additionally, there's EQC that's around those ponds, and we've kept all of the development outside of those EQC limits. The only areas where we're doing limited work in the EQC right now is related to repairing and upgrading existing trails that are in those areas, and then adding some new publicly accessible trails and other improvements for the public to utilize that open space. Additionally, we are making significant enhancements to the ponds to make them more sustainable, particularly Pond A, which is the one on the western side of the property, so the left-hand side of the image, which is currently very shallow, slowly filling in. And so we're working to make that pond more sustainable in the long term, and more ecologically sound. Additionally, we're adding 30,000 square feet of EQC on the property, and that's primarily in sort of the lower right-hand side of the screen, but north of the WVOD Trail. We've also worked really hard on the open space and tree save.
Scott, can I
Yes.
interrupt you? Please
Sure.
Define, we have people listening, what EQC is for people
Oh,
who
sorry.
don't know
Yeah.
that it's Environmental Quality Corridor. Please
Yes.
don't use these terms that, some
Yep.
observers don't know. Thank you.
Absolutely, and
Sorry.
I appreciate that. Sometimes we fall back on our jargon, so certainly appreciate that. And as you mentioned, it's the Environmental Quality Corridor, which is a category of environmentally sensitive areas within the county due to primarily steep slopes or other environmental features that provide environmental protection that's necessary for preservation of those areas. And so, again, we're maintaining the existing EQC that's on the property, but then also adding about 30,000 square feet of additional environmental quality corridor within the property. From an open space tree save standpoint, we heard loud and clear that there was a desire to not diminish any of the open space on the property. And so we've actually increased the amount of open space that's currently proposed versus the existing approval. That approval had 56% of the site as open space, and we're currently at 60% of the site as open space. Within that open space, we've got both public and private amenities. From a private amenities standpoint, primarily that's the central green space within the townhouses, and then also the muse that connects that green space to the larger public open space on the site. From a public open space standpoint, we've significantly increased that from the prior application and also the original submission. So as you may recall, this site currently has 0 publicly accessible open space, and we have modified our plans to provide 30% of the site, so about 9.23 acres of the site, as publicly accessible open space. And that comes in the form of sort of 2 different areas. The first is based on some conversations that we've had with Nova Parks, looking at actually dedicating that area south of the WVOD Trail to Nova Parks in support of a larger area-wide linear park. So it'll connect to the property that they already own along Sunset Hills to the west, and hopefully lead to just a larger linear park running to the west along the WVOD Trail, but providing a large chunk of that as a starting point. The second aspect is north of the WVOD Trail, creating a very large public trail network, which will have access from both Old Reston and the WVOD Trail. It goes through the site, around the three ponds, and also provides not just the trails, which in and of themselves are a nice benefit, but also provides some activating park amenities within that publicly accessible open space. So north of Pond C, which is the pond on the right-hand side, or the eastern part of the property, we've added seating areas, open grass space, a kids playground. Additionally, throughout the public open space, there's a lot of art that's currently on the site, and so we are keeping that art and relocating it within that public trail network and those public open spaces to really create a significant public art aspect of the public open space as well. Moving to ponds A and B, we've also got again the public trail network and that goes around the exterior of those ponds, but also creating a boardwalk and some overlooks for those spaces to really, again, turn those ponds into a great public amenity for Reston. And overall, we think that bringing the public onto this site is going to create a great benefit for the community as a whole, and really take what's currently a private and closed off site and make it into that great public amenity for Reston. From a transportation standpoint, we've continued to improve the transportation commitments as part of this project, mainly focused on multimodal transportation options. As you may recall from the last time we were here, the residential option creates a significant trip reduction from the approved office. So for the AM peak, reducing the trips from 355 down to 45. And in the PM peak, reducing that number from 376 down to 56 trips. Additionally, sort of moving with the theme of opening the site up more. Currently, American Dream Way is gated at both ends, and on Old Reston, that gate is right near the entrance to American Dream Way. And we've taken those gates and moved them back within the property so that they're only located directly adjacent to the office building. And we've done that mainly and retained those gates mainly because we're marking the site for secure tenants, and that's just a requirement of those tenants to come into the property. But we've really tried to make sure that the entirety of the residential area is open with free access for both vehicles and pedestrians coming into the site. Within the site, we've also improved the pedestrian connections, including the trail network, but also new sidewalks running throughout, and ensuring that we've got connections that allow us, offsite connections that allow us to be integrated into the overall Reston community. We've also committed to a number of frontage improvements along Sunset Hills. Along the entrance of American Dream Way at Sunset Hills, that's a very wide entrance right now. And we've agreed to restripe that and reduce the width of that pedestrian crossing to create a better pedestrian environment. In addition, when we came to you the last time, we had a sidewalk that was proposed along our portion of the Sunset Hills frontage. We've worked with Nova Parks to ensure that we'll be able to build the sidewalk along the entire frontage, so that you'll get that full block connection with the sidewalk. In addition, we've dedicated committed to dedicate the right-of-way for future bike lanes on Sunset Hills. And as part of this project, we'll be constructing not only the sidewalk along the entire frontage, but also have committed to constructing the landscape amenity panel and street trees. So you're really creating a great pedestrian experience along Sunset Hills. So overall, we're very excited about the project. And the potential to add additional housing options within walking distance to Metro. Additionally, being able to open up this currently closed site and creating what we think are really great amenities for the public, including that plan for the larger linear park along the WVOD Trail. but also improving the environmental condition of the site and expanding the amount of open space from what's currently approved. So overall, we think this is a project that's really going to have a positive contribution to the Reston community. Just quickly in terms of community outreach, we've reached out to the surrounding homeowners several times, but have not received much engagement from them. But we just did a mailing and set up a community meeting for December 1st to try and further that community engagement. So that's certainly something that we're definitely committed to, making sure that we're getting that input outside of just this group as well. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. But again, we hope that you recognize the improvements to this project since the last time we were here, and hopefully recognize the benefit of what we think is going to be a great public amenity for Reston.
Thank you, Scott. So I do want to remind everybody that the applicant is here for a vote tonight. They have a planning commission meeting, I believe in December. So with that, let's take some questions from the committee. I'm just going to go down the list that I have. David,
Hey, Rob, I'm sorry, just to be clear. So we are currently scheduled for a December 8th planning commission hearing, but that hearing is going to be deferred. So just
Okay.
to let you know in terms of the timing.
Thank you. All right, David Vanel.
Thanks, Rob. A couple of questions about the WDU ADUs in the project. I see you've got a total of 9, 4 and 5. Are those designed as rentals or purchase or both?
Those are currently designed as home ownership opportunities. So those will be ownership units.
Okay, thank you very much.
And
I think it's I like the look of it this time.
this is Sue Straits. Under your sustainability goals, you mentioned green building. What level of leads are you working toward?
So the commitment for these, because they're townhouses, we've made a commitment to meeting one of 2 green building standards, and I believe it's either Earthcraft or and Mike, jump in. I'm trying to flip to the right page if you have the other certification system that we are committing to. I'm sorry, the Energy Star. So we've got Earthcraft House Program or certification in accordance with the National Green Building Standard using Energy Star Qualified Homes path.
And then under public art, you mentioned public art, but you checked no under contacting Reston Public Art. Will you be coordinating with them?
So I think the reason that we had checked no on that is that there's a lot of art that's existing out there on the site, and so there's not new art that's being proposed. It's relocating the art pieces that are there now, making those into, or I guess making them accessible to the public. But I think we would be open to having that conversation with Public Art Reston, just to I guess confer on sort of location of where that public art is going.
Okay, I would encourage you to coordinate with them. Thank you.
Rob, if I could jump back in here just for a quick question. Since Mr. Pegues is not here, I feel compelled to ask about roofs. What are you planning in terms of the existing? Are you going to try to do anything with green roofs in the existing office structure? And what about on the townhouses?
I don't believe we are planning on any sort of retrofitting to that existing building. But in terms of the townhouses, I don't believe we've got any green roofs anticipated there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mike Jennings.
Yeah, I really don't have any questions. I think, we see applications come across here where, we're fighting for a little pocket park or fighting for trees, and this applicant seems to have, really done a good job maintaining trees and giving lots of park space that's also publicly accessible to people who don't live here. So I think this is a good project, and I don't have any questions.
Thanks, Mike. Jake.
Yeah, like what? I don't know. There we go. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is would this be the biggest park that's not a golf course or, the Fairfax County Park in Reston? It seems like it would be. I might be completely wrong, but it's very, I don't know, Olmsted or something like that. I don't know. It just seems, it's just very nice. I like all that open space. I haven't seen something like that in Reston, I don't think ever. So I'm excited to see. I know it's already there, but it's great that you're maintaining it. And other than that, I mean, I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Jake. John Capilla.
Hi, can you hear me okay, Rob?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think everything's looking great and definitely improved from the original application. So it looks great. I don't really have any further questions.
Thank you, John. Let's see. I just want to make sure if Richard Kennedy popped on or not. I don't see Richard on here. Shelley. Shelley, I know you were here. Let's see. Oh, Shelley, you're on mute.
All right.
There you go.
Okay. I'm not sure you're aware of the fact that last semester, a Virginia Tech studio studied the WVOD Trail, proposed enhancements between Reston Parkway and Wheelie along this very stretch. Have you seen that study by any chance?
I've not seen that study.
Okay, well, we should send it because you have picked up on a lot of what the students recommended. It's wonderful to see the public access that you've provided in the areas around the ponds. I do have one question, and that is, where is the dog park now?
So the dog park actually has sort of gone away mainly because of the discussions we've had with Nova Parks that they were not in favor of a dog park in that location. I think they had some other ideas for future programming for that space, and so what we've done is made it a little more vague in terms of what that ultimate space looks like to give Nova Parks the flexibility when they're coming in and doing that final design for the linear park.
Okay, I just raised that because there was a reference to a dog park near the parking area near the office. So I just didn't know where that would be, but what do you envision that urban park to be there between the trail and Sunset Hills?
So we've left that with Nova Parks. I think the discussions we've had is they want that a little more vague because they want to go through, I think, a park planning process and make sure whatever goes in there is tying into the overall linear park. So we've identified it on the plans as sort of an active park area so that when they're ready to come in with their plans, there's no issues with the zoning, but we've purposely left that a little bit vague just to give Nova Parks the flexibility.
Okay, sounds good. Well, anyway, I really applaud you for the open space and the public access. Terrific. Thank you.
Hey, Scott, just to be clear, so some of the drawings we did receive did still call dog park out on the actual FDPA plans. So
Yeah,
just,
and so that's the FDPA plans are being updated to take out that reference, and that was based on a fairly recent discussion with Nova Parks to get that updated. So that change is being made now on the FDPA.
All right, great. All right, Vishali.
Hi, can you guys see me? Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. I also appreciate the fact that you actually took our comments, especially in terms of making the ponds, have public access. So I definitely appreciate that. And the fact that it seems like you've also enlarged them in size, if I'm correct. One quick question, do you have both quantity and quality taken care of in terms of stormwater management with these ponds? Okay,
We
that's great
do,
to
and
hear. Okay.
I can let our engineers sort of get into the details on that. But yes, the ponds are actually being improved to have better, I think both quantity and quality.
Okay. And then it seems like you guys are providing some bike parking. Where is that going to be located?
So we haven't, I think, picked the final location for where the bike parking is going to go. I think that'll come at site plan and final design, and just I think
Okay.
coordinating with the county's bike planners to make sure we've got it in the right place.
And those are the bike parking is mainly going to be for the residents there, or is it also going to be accessible to the public? Is it anywhere near the WVOD Trail? Is it near that park?
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember where we have the bike parking located. I don't know, Matt Clark from Land Design or Mike, do you recall where we've talked about putting the bike parking?
I didn't think we had it nailed down, Scott, as we were having those discussions with the parks folks and everyone in between. My sense is it would have to be at a couple kind of logical access points so that it'd be, available to anybody, honestly.
Yeah, that was basically my point, just
Yeah.
making sure that
Yeah.
as you work with Nova Parks to kind of strategically locate them so either the residents or the, public could
Right.
use the
Right.
bike parking. Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. And then I have just one other question. There's that a little something that looks like an open space or a field almost at the bottom right corner. And I think in the previous iteration, you guys had shown something like a parking area. Is that gone now?
Yeah, that parking area is gone. So that part of the site, sort of the eastern half of it, or sort of the eastern sliver there, is part of what'll ultimately be part of the office parcel. So we took
I
out the
see.
parking, but that open space back there, that's the only part of the open space on the site that's still private, and that's just related to needing to create the secure campus for the office piece.
Got it. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
All right, before we continue, there's a couple of people that have weighed in from the public, and I will get some public comment after we get through the committee comments. Let's see, next is Tammy Petrine.
Thanks, Rob. I'm glad everybody was short so I can be long. I've been looking at this. I'm in shock that there's no dog park when it's in our documents that we're supposed to be reviewing. Why, first of all, you went from 90 units showing 87 on your drawing, but your documents say 87 to 95. What's going on there? How is that? What is that discrepancy?
It's to leave flexibility on the ultimate width of the units. Right now, we're showing just a standardized unit width on there, but there will be variation in that as we move towards the final design. And so that's where that range comes in.
Well, that's my next question. What are your width ranges and how many bedrooms and what sizes are these and what price points?
So I think a lot of those questions, we don't have a builder for this lined up. So a lot of those questions are going to depend on who the ultimate builder is for the project in terms of the mix of number of bedrooms for each one of the units, and just the overall kind of mix of I guess the final width for each of these townhouses. I don't know, Steve, if you have any additional information.
Yeah, I can weigh on part of it. Tammy, the units, if you see the pond that's farthest to the hand right, those units there are 24 feet wide. And the rest of the units that you see right there are 20 feet wide. And this plan right here, the range that Scott alluded to, because we're looking at the footprint right here. The footprint obviously won't change. The range would be 87 to 92, so it's not 95. But those are the widths that you see on here on these boxes. In terms of size, I think the builder wants to retain some optionality on whether something is 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms. So I kind of leave that part up to the builder, and when someone buys a house, they can choose. That's kind of up to them. In terms of size, I would guess, and this is Steve guessing, the 20-foot wide units are going to be probably 2,000 to 2,200 square feet, and the larger units at the bottom would be larger. There's a 2,400 to 2,600 plus or minus.
Okay, so we have two widths, either 20 or 24. Congratulations on the 24. You can actually live in a 24-foot unit. What is the height? What is the height limitation? I didn't see
the
that.
height on here is actually it was at 50 feet. I'm not really sure on the zone, but I don't plan anything taller than that anyway, so maybe less than 50 feet.
The townhouses have a 50-foot height maximum.
Yeah, it'll
Okay.
be less than that.
All right, I'm concerned because you have 0 yards. You want a variation on a mini, teeny weeny 200 square foot yard. You don't want to have that. These are supposed to be quality construction, but there are no yards. There's no place for a grill or a bike or a whatever to be secured. I assume the bike racks you're talking about are public bike racks. So how do people live in this? We have, you're suggesting that you're going to have between 87 and 92 units. That's a lot of people. That is, where are they going to? We have, there's some parking. You say driveways. I'm looking at these alleys of the rear load. Where in the world are people going to park unless they can get in their garage? We've gone through this nightmare with Tall Oaks before, so we're a little chastened. And this idea of having these narrow streets, private streets, and alley-like things are scary. I understand that what you're going to have facing the most, the most beautiful area, and I have to compliment you, the ponds in the park, that's excellent. That is truly beautiful. I understand why people are impressed. But I am super duper not impressed with crowding this number of, you say, oh, we reduced or we improved from last time. Well, last time wasn't a banner plan for us. So we're still losing a lot of very mature trees. I'm just real concerned about where are all these townhouse people with dogs going to walk their dogs if there's no dog park here? I'm sort of in shock that there's no dog park.
So I guess, Sammy, I'd have 3 answers, and I'll start with the outdoor space because I agree. I think that's very important. These are all set up so they could all have roof decks. I live in a house now that's actually 18 feet wide with a roof deck with no yard, so I'm kind of used to it. And this is very standard for units in Fairfax County. We see these a lot. So you will have roof decks, and there will be outdoor space. I have a grill on my roof, as an example. In terms of parking, the parking code for these is 2.7 spaces per unit, which obviously we meet. It's hard to see on a little drawing, but there's parallel parking space all around the perimeter and kind of internal to this. I don't know if Mike can zoom in, but where he's got the cursor, you can kind of see some spaces right there. So there's additional spaces there, and there's spaces out on American Way as well. the 24-foot units will have 2-car garages plus driveways, so they could accommodate 4 cars. The 20-foot units there have a 2-car garage. Then and again, there's spaces on the outsides and ringing it. So as far as a dog park, it's kind of interesting. You know, we asked Nova Parks and Fairfax Parks, and they literally didn't want one. So what you see in terms of right next to Sunset Hills is we're going to construct a sidewalk along the entire frontage and put in the landscape screen. And in lieu of 3 trail connections, the Nova Parks literally did not want 3 trail connections. They only wanted, we'll have 1. I think we should have 1 on there. So that's why this looks like it looks. And I don't have a dog park here. I walk my dog around the neighborhood. So
Yeah, and I would just say on the dog front, I mean, there's a significant trail network that's being proposed that I think is going to make this really attractive to dog owners who will want to walk their dogs along both the public and private trails that are being proposed here.
Are you saying you want people to let their dogs use the toilet in your park? What? That has to be a mistake, right?
I mean, I think if people are walking their dogs and their dogs, go to the bathroom, they'll.
I'll tell you, I pick up after my dog. That's kind of that's why they sell little plastic bags.
I mean, isn't that the same condition as every trail in Reston right now? They've got dog stations to clean up after your pets all along every trail in Reston.
Wow. Yeah, but you're talking about bringing in almost 100 new homes that will have a load of dogs there. So now you're going to invite the public in to add to that. I'm in shock. Totally in shock. The other thing, who is going to maintain this park? The interior park, the behind area. I understand that Nova Parks is going to take over the land south of the WNOD. Who's maintaining the 3 ponds?
So there's an umbrella owners association between the townhouse and the office that's responsible for the maintenance of the ponds and the open space north of the WNOD. Okay.
So there will be an HOA on site that is both commercial and residential.
Correct.
Okay. So I'm looking at this drawing. Thank God it's up on the board. I only see the 24-foot townhouses facing Pond C. Are there others? Because I don't see where anybody else has driveway parking.
No, the 24s. You're correct. The Pond C, those 24s. Everything else is 20. Yes.
So nobody else has any exterior parking. They must park in the garage or fight for these few spaces that are hash marked. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Because I'm talking about we have deliveries, we have service people, we have guests. We have a nightmare at Tall Oaks. We have a nightmare at Seacus, where all the residents take up parking that's supposed to be for the park there. This is not for public parking interior, but I am concerned about the people who would be buying this. I don't think there's enough parking. I think I congratulate you on a huge improvement, but I don't think you're there yet. Okay. When you say urban style townhouse, are you saying this rooftop deck and then we don't need to have a yard? It's not a typical townhouse. Is that a way to get away from not having a yard or putting too many units in a compressed space?
I think this is a pretty standard layout, and the exception of the 200 square foot yard requirement is also pretty standard for townhouse development in Fairfax County. And I haven't looked at the recent things approved along the Dulles corridor, but I would imagine they probably asked for the same waiver. I think
you're in a TSA by grace. You're not in the TOD area. You're not within half a mile of either station. So please don't try to get us to pretend this is urban, centric design. With the parks, it's certainly not urban centric. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I'm
I would just
thrilled.
say for this design and the waiver of the 200 square foot, that's not something that's I would categorize as like a TOD type of
No,
development request. I
yeah,
mean,
no,
we see that, all over the county.
yeah, but this is Reston, and we're not all over the county. Are the lily ponds wetlands or are they storm management ponds?
It's a little bit of a combination of both. And just for clarification, so the lily pond, which is Pond A, the lilies actually that's a sign that that pond is actually not very healthy. It's being filled in. It's very shallow, and so that Pond A and Pond B do not provide stormwater benefit. Only Pond C is where the stormwater, I guess the stormwater facilities are located. Pond A and Pond B are really more, frankly, amenities. And so there is EQC and within those ponds, but it's again it's man-made EQC from the first development that we're not encroaching in.
Okay, there was a discussion in your paperwork about RPAs and protecting that resource protection areas. I'm concerned because when this Fannie Mae was approved, and maybe you got auxiliary approval for the two smaller office buildings, times have changed. We've had massive storms, super flooding. I think it's two 500-year storms within a couple years, at least two within 10 years recently. You're going to have flooding. I looked at the floodplain drawing. It's very close to some of these townhouses on the west edge nearest the pond. What is the status? We don't have a staff report. So you've been here a year. Things have changed since you've been here a year ago. We now want to see the staff report before you come and ask for a vote. But what is the status of the staff report? Have you had any feedback at all about their concern about the floodplain coming right up to the front of these home lots, if not to the building perimeter?
Yeah, so in terms of floodplain and wetlands, we're completely out of those environmentally sensitive areas on the site. So I don't believe there's any remaining
That wasn't
concerns about
shown above Pond B. There's floodplain that's showing. That's why I'm commenting on it. It definitely
So
goes
there
up the
is
pathway.
there's a little bit of a history with the EQC design on the site, where when the original rezoning was approved back in the early 90s, the ponds that were shown on that rezoning plan had a different configuration. When the site was actually built and on the approved site plan, it shows the pond configuration that's there now. And so the EQC level from the zoning plan is tied to the water surface level for those ponds. And when the pond design changed, the EQC boundaries adjusted to the water surface level that was actually constructed, which is actually there's more EQC actually developed than what was shown on the zoning plans originally. And so it's what I guess we've got up here in red is the current EQC boundary for the project.
Okay, but where's the floodplain? I saw somewhere. I went on to another map, but I saw flood area up right above B, bordering on A. I don't know what the topography. We didn't get a topo map, but I assume it's higher. I don't know. I mean, I definitely saw floodplain. And you talk about minor floodplain on your site. And what I'm trying to caution you is if it's a minor floodplain, it's going to be flooded given the ferocity and the duration of these intense, very frequent storms that we're getting.
Yes.
So I would be interested what staff thinks about that. The last thing I think they want is for any townhouses to be built that are going to flood.
Yeah.
Hey, Tammy,
anything
can we
with
have you wrap up your comments, please?
Yes, I have just a few more pages. Thank you. What, you mentioned that, well, first of all, has Dominion, Northern Virginia Park Authority, you're talking to them. You mentioned you had has Dominion okayed this with their easement, the idea for the park off the WOND?
So
WO?
we have not talked to Dominion, so we would be dedicating that land area to Nova Parks, and then there are restrictions that Dominion has for any improvements that are located within their easement or within a certain distance of any of the lines that they have there. And so whatever the final design of the park space is would have to respect those Dominion guidelines.
Okay, and you commented on that you were going to approach RA. Is this RA for membership for the townhouses?
We have.
To them,
Sorry, go ahead.
I'll go ahead. I've spoken to them, but at this point, this property is not part of RA. That's going to be a building.
That is correct. That is not part of RA.
So
That's why I'm asking the question, because you have a statement down here on page 6, number 13, or I guess it's on page 7, something about RA doing maintenance. And I'm like, what? You're not even members of RA. This is not PRC.
Yeah, we're not. What we have done is started having conversations with RA about the potential for the townhouse piece to become RA members, but that's not something that I think we haven't said that this is going to be in, these townhouses will be part of RA or that there's any maintenance obligation for RA.
Okay, two more things. You mentioned that EV charging will be at the owner's expense. I think that should be standard in every garage. And putting the 220 outlets in there, you don't have to put the charger in there because you don't know what kind of charger a person was going to need. But we're past the point of this being an option. The last thing is, you claim that you have tried to contact neighbors. There's a bunch of them in the audience waiting to talk to you who have not been contacted. So good that you're planning to have a meeting. We certainly can't vote on this without knowing that you have not spoken to the neighbors. So please be expecting their questions when the committee is done. And you skipped Michelle, I think, Rob.
Before we get off that, Scott, maybe you could tell them who we've reached out to.
Sure. So we reached out to the properties that are directly adjacent to us to the north. So Ivy Oak, North Shore, and the Sycamore Apartments. I see in the chat that there are folks from Charter Oak, and we're absolutely happy to reach out and invite them to the December 1st community meeting, and any other clusters that want to participate in that.
All right, can we move on to Matt?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to commend the development team on the improvements that they've made to the site. From the last time I looked at this, I know there were concerns that I had about access points and the community open space, and I think that this is a huge improvement over what I saw previously. I'll also just add, as far as layouts on a site and the size of the houses and the units, this feels appropriate to me for the context of the site, the density around there. I think the parking meets the required parking count. I don't have concerns about the parking numbers. And I think the general widths that you gave of 20 and 24 feet are very standardized widths that, I've done all over Fairfax County in areas that I would consider to be comparable to this site. So I don't have any major questions. You actually answered some of the questions that I had about the architecture as far as how tall the buildings were going to be, whether they're going to have roof decks. I saw some example images in the packet, and they had that, but they were just example images. These are all single family home townhouses. There's no 2/2s in here.
singles. And I took the Mazia, I took the pictures, the toll project on the other side of the toll road.
Yep, I'm familiar with that, and those townhouses are very nice over there. So yeah, I like the project, and I think it's been greatly improved. I love seeing the connection with the O&D and some of the interconnecting trails, which will be great for people from the entire community, not just the people that live here. So that's it.
Thanks, Matt. Next is Katie McLean.
Hey, good evening. Thank you. A couple things real quick. So joining RA, I think if you could join RA, I think that's important because, you know, most people that live in Reston, whether they belong to RA or not, they use all the trails and they use all the, you know, the benefits of living in Reston. I just had a couple questions. So I know you said there's no more dog park. Is there still going to be like a tot lot or like a family park up there near the townhomes?
There is. So it's if you can see kind of where the cursor is, it's right above Pond C.
Okay.
There's a playground that's planned, and then also seating areas and also just an open grass play area.
Okay, perfect. And then on where the parking lot was going to be, that large parking lot that is no longer happening, kind of just south of the office building, is that just going to be like forever green space? Is there
Correct.
no plans in the future to make it a parking lot or another building? That's just going to be the green space how it is?
Yep, that'll be
Okay.
exactly how it's shown.
Okay, I like that. And so if I wanted to come over, you know, to this area and walk these trails around these three ponds, where is it that I would park?
So there's, I guess, a couple of options. One is there's an existing parking lot that's the trailhead for the WVOD Trail right off of Old Reston, just north of, I guess the cursor's on it right now, but
Yeah,
so
okay.
that's a parking lot that Nova Parks has. You know, other than that, you know, we envision that this is going to be something that people are primarily going to be walking to in terms of coming to the trail network and utilizing it, unless they're parking in that public parking lot.
Okay. That's it. Great. It looks really good.
Thanks.
Thanks, Katie. And then Michelle.
Sorry. Okay. I just have a few follow-up questions from some of what was already asked, if I can. Just to confirm, so it's committed that that area that's green space will not become a parking lot or anything else? The one that was a parking lot and now is green?
Correct.
That's proffered, or it's not?
Correct. Yeah, it's shown on the development plan as green space. So there's no development that can occur there, even if we wanted to, which we don't.
Okay. The timing of the park along the WNOD, what will happen if Nova Parks takes longer to figure out what they're doing? I mean, what are you thinking on timing and when that would actually come online in some fashion?
Yeah, it really is going to depend on Nova Parks and kind of their planning process for that. I think the good news is we'll be able to move at our own pace for everything north of the trail, and so you'll get that public trail network and all those sort of smaller pocket parks that we're proposing with the development when it comes in, and so you'll have a significant portion of the park in place and the connection to the WNOD, and then hopefully Nova Parks can move relatively quickly to plan the programming for that southern portion. But I think we're at least happy that we're going to have a significant portion of it in place when the development comes online.
Yeah. Well, and so the sidewalk that will be on Sunset Hills, when does that come online?
That comes in with the development. So we'll have the sidewalk all the way along that block, and then also the landscape amenity panel with the street trees. That'll all come in with the development.
Okay. And then I think you were asked about EV charging capabilities in the units. Can you commit to doing that tonight, or at least get back to us after you've considered it more?
Yeah, we can certainly look at that and get back to you. So we have a commitment in the proffers right now that we'll offer that as an option for the initial purchasers to put the conduit in for the EV charging station. But we're happy to look at that a little bit closer and whether we can do that as just a standard option. I think part of it is just we need to make sure we're not putting things on in the proffers that make it so that whoever the ultimate developer is, isn't sort of able to move forward with their I guess their models that they normally move forward with. But we'll absolutely take a look at that and come back to the committee on it.
Okay. And then also along the lines of encouraging electricity or electrifying things, have you also considered electric appliances and, in particular, induction stovetops, but specifically getting away from gas?
Yeah, and it's something that Bill Penniman had asked us before the meeting, knowing that he wasn't going to be able to be here, and so it's something that we're willing to look at. I think it again falls into the same category of not knowing who the ultimate builder is going to be for these units, and so wanting to make sure we're not sort of limiting the sort of number of builders who could come into this project. But again, it's something that we can look at and come back to the committee on.
I think that would be greatly appreciated. And, I do think that to have those as standard, hopefully at this point would not cut anybody off, especially the EV charging. And then I think the same request would go also for some form of vegetated roof, both retrofitting and to see too, if you can come back to us on what you're able to do on the townhomes themselves. And then let's see, the other question I have too is, so since it's a private road, where will the school bus pick up? And have you planned that? Where are kids going to go to get to school?
Yeah, so we have not looked at that. That's typically once the development goes in for site plan, that's when the Fairfax County Public Schools establish where the bus stop is going to be for the students. So I don't know where that stop would be located. It's really the schools sort of comes up with where they can have a safe stop for the kids in the development. But we don't really have a say in that.
It just looks pretty. I'm not sure where that would be. Okay, and so I think that was it. Was just really following up on, if you could get back to us on some of these points, and then also let us know too when you have the staff report. And then, it would be nice too to see some, the tot lot. I greatly appreciate that there'll be the side area for, just open play and running. That's great. If we could, get some innovative playground equipment there too. And so it's not just the same that we're seeing everywhere. I think that would really add to it also. And I'd also like to echo on the RA front. And could you tell us, you've already spoken with RA. Is this a possibility, or can you provide any more information?
I've spoken to them, and I really want to leave this up to the builder for this issue. So that's why I haven't really committed to them yet. It's pretty much that simple, no magic to it.
Sure. And I understand that, but with a lot of these things, these might seem smaller and, providing flexibility for the builder, but I do think that these are important to build a larger Reston community and to reflect, the community's goals and commitments, from, efforts to fight climate change to just, making sure that we're all doing our part as your future residents will use the RA facilities, paths, and trails. And I think that would be really important.
Well, and one other thing, I didn't want to saddle RA with additional maintenance and any financial things. You know, I just didn't want to just show up and say, hey, you got to take care of all these ponds and trails. And that was part of it as well. So I'm trying to figure out how much everything will cost to take care of. So that was why. But nothing,
Okay,
no real reason why or why not.
got it. Okay, all right, well, I look forward to hearing more. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Hey, Steve, to piggyback on Michelle's comment, though, I think the RA question is much more of the participation from the residents, not you donating land or giving land to RA. It's will your residents participate in Reston Association to help fund the neighboring trails and the trail systems and all the other connectivity and the open space that your residents will also afford in the region, not so much this site. And then along with that is the architectural review, which in your submittal documents, you mentioned it's planned for architectural review. So can you elaborate on that?
Say the question again. I'm sorry if the dogs and cats right all over the place.
So the last question was in the submittal packet, you all mentioned that you have planned to go to RA for design review. Is that in fact correct?
I think we would be open to going to the DRB, prior to, I guess it's site plan or building permits, with the design of the townhouses once we have the a builder in place, for sort of advisory recommendations. But I don't think we anticipated going through the DRB process as an approval process.
Okay, your questionnaire was filled out. You might want to go back and check how that questionnaire was filled out. So again, Steve, going back to the RA question was more of the commitment as a residential homeowner to be a part of RA, not to donate your land to RA and not to be burdening RA with that. It was more of the question of, in fairness to all the other residents in Reston, to have contributions equally made to the new residents as well as the old residents.
Yeah, and Rob, I think to your point, I mean, we're happy to continue those conversations with RA and figure out whether we can, whether it makes sense for both us and RA in terms of membership. So I think we're happy to continue down that path with the RA.
So, just so you know, I mean, this committee is looking at that very, very carefully. We've been, harping on that for years now. And, we'd like to see those commitments made up front more than waited till down the road. So let me ask you the question about Nova Parks. I know Nova Parks is very sensitive to trail connections to the WOND, and you have several that are proposed, and you said you're in talks with Nova Parks. The question would be, if those connections are not made, does the quality of the space diminish, and how far along are you with your talks to Nova Parks about that?
Yeah, so I guess a couple of things. One is, Nova Parks has standard guidelines for those trail connections. And so we've designed the connections that we're showing in conformance with the guidelines that Nova Parks has. We've also left a little bit of flexibility so that if the location or the design of that connection needs to change at final site plan based on feedback from Nova Parks, that we've got the flexibility to adjust things with them to make sure we can get that connection in place.
All right, and then one last question, I just want to clarify, just so everybody's clear, this is an option, this residential is an option to your plan. There is still an option to do office buildings even after this is approved. And I wanted to make sure everybody realizes this is an option being added to the final development plan. It's not a replacement. It's just an option. It's a residential option. The applicant could go back to office should the market dictate. And Scott, can you just confirm that?
That's correct. So this will be a development option that'll be added on to the existing zoning approval.
Okay. All right, so we've had a couple different comments from the public. I'd like to figure out a way to see if they either want to speak or if I can talk to some of the comments in the chat room.
Rob, what about John Carter?
Well, I'm trying to get to the public first, and then I'm going
Okay.
to go to John. Because the public's been patient here through our comments that have gone long.
Hey, Rob, we got Michelle Silver and also Lynn Molson that wanted to make comments. I can
Okay.
unmute.
If you can allow that, that'd be great.
Michelle?
Great. Hi. Good evening. Thank you very much. So I had some comments and I guess a couple questions. I'm not sure if this first question is rhetorical or not, but I live in the North Shore Cluster Association, which is to the right of the Fannie Mae building. And I've lived here for 20 years in Reston, and I love Reston. I moved here because it was green. It's not becoming so green anymore, in my opinion, with all these buildings going up. But I guess I'm curious as to why there's going to be a vote tonight, if I'm understanding this correctly, when the community has not been involved. I've not been to a community meeting. I hear there's one on December 1st. I don't know if Steve and Scott remember me. I know my video's not up, but I met with you a year and a half ago about the other place you're trying to build on Hidden Creek and pointed out very clearly that I was the POC for North Shore Association. So this is the first meeting I've been to about it. So I would prefer there not be a vote tonight until the community has had an opportunity to discuss this.
Just to be clear, because we're definitely not looking for a vote tonight. Just to clarify that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Couple comments, I guess. There is public access to this today. There is a gate that is open from dusk till dawn on the North Shore side, and people access it from the WVOD Trail today. So that's more a comment because I live there. I walk these trails. I walk those ponds. And the ponds right now, I guess somebody was saying, Scott, that may have been you, that I guess the Fannie Mae Building Association is supposed to take care of those ponds. Assuming this actually goes forward, which I kind of hope it doesn't, they're not well cared for. I personally take garbage bags over there and clean those ponds up. So that's another comment. Dog park. I'm going to echo what a few people said about the dog park. People bring dogs there now into the open space where there's townhomes in this picture, and the dogs run and they pick up their poop. I'm sure they do. But the trails, which are pebbled right now, if that's the only way that the people are going to be able to walk their dogs, if you decide to build these, I don't know how they're going to pick those up unless you're planning to pave those. So I don't know if you've ever walked those trails, but they are pebbled. Let's see, what else is there? Traffic. So I live here again, and the old Reston Avenue, 2-lane road, and you're putting in what, 87, 90 more homes. So let's say everybody has 2 cars. How are we dealing with the traffic?
Sure. So the traffic for the townhouse portion of this project, it's, sorry, let me find my notes on that, but it's 45 trips in the morning peak hour and 56 trips in the afternoon peak hours. So it's a fairly minimal number of additional cars that are going onto the transportation road network. We've done a transportation analysis that's been reviewed by staff, and it is found that the road network can accommodate the townhouses that are being proposed.
Would you share that before the community meeting that I'd like to be invited to?
Sure, happy to share it.
Okay, because like I said, I live here. I live right behind it. I know what the traffic's like. And by the way, if this ends up being built and it becomes office space, I guess that would be a little ironic considering the Fannie Mae building, even pre-pandemic, it is mostly empty. So I think we should tear that down and build some more trees and put a park there. Put your dog park there because there's nobody in it. And the Reston Association, I would strongly encourage you because again, it's not the maintenance, it's the issue of them paying their part of being part of the Reston Association and all the amenities that go with that. We pay our dues and we get the benefit of it. To have all these people move in here and not have to pay the Reston Association dues, well, hell, maybe I'll sell my townhouse and move in this cluster. Because that's about $800 a month now, or a year. So I think that's all I've got. I look forward to the December 1st meeting. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Michelle.
just quickly, Rob, on the I guess the access to the trail network now. I'm sure people do go back into that trail network, but that is I mean that is private property and it's a private trail network, so there are no public access rights on there. I think you know, Fannie Mae has informally allowed people to go back there, but what we're looking to do with this project is formalize that and really invite the public onto the property and upgrade the facilities that are out there.
Well, that's interesting considering the gate says open from 6 a.m. to like 9 p.m., but that's very misleading. Just so you know.
That was put there by the tenant. They're actually leaving at the end of this year, so they'll be gone in like 40 days.
Oh, so that building's going to be completely empty?
You know, it's funny. You know, I went over there the other day. Again, they haven't. They left for the pandemic, and they actually have no intention of ever going back.
Could you do me a favor next time you're over there, Steve? Could you go up to about the 3rd or 4th floor and turn off all the lights that I have to look out through my backyard? And all seriousness, I was going to walk over there and see if I could find somebody to go turn those damn lights off because it's annoying.
Yeah, good luck finds. I had to call the security guy. There's a whole thing. But yeah, I'll run over there for you. Sorry.
Thank you.
All right, Jose, do we have someone else from the public?
Yeah, we have Lynn Wilson. Hey, Lynn.
I'm sorry. I'm so cracking up.
Oh.
Michelle, I'm sorry. You have to deal with those lights. Oh my God. Anyway, thank you so much, Jose. I really appreciate it. And I do appreciate Scott and Steve and the folks from Wheelock here tonight. I do want to just point out that, and this is really piggybacking on what Michelle pointed out, and that is that there is a very important pedestrian access point for the neighborhood north of this defined boundary of this project. And it's not reflected in the current plan. And it was my understanding that Larry Butler at RA negotiated to get that sidewalk put in that would connect the neighborhood north of the property to Plaza America. And I can say that I know that many of my neighbors and myself included use that access, that pedestrian access point to get to Plaza America. So the fact that was supposedly negotiated and is not reflected in this plan was of concern to me. And the other item, I heard a lot of talk about Nova Parks. And my question, I guess, is Nova Parks mandating what goes into Reston, or will Wheelock be working with Nova Parks and bringing that proposal back to P&Z to make sure that we are getting what is best for Reston? Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Golly, yeah, I would say Larry may have negotiated that with Fannie Mae. He never negotiated with the owners. So we have absolutely no record of there being an access point on that.
And
north
and the
side.
owners being Steve, you, Wheelock, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Before,
So that would be nice for you all to give that back to the community. Thank you.
All right, Jose, before I ask Commissioner Carter for some comments, any other public?
Yeah, Miss Corey wanted to make a comment.
Okay.
Yes, I just wanted to add to Lynn's comments that pedestrian access from the north, from North Shore Drive, is really, really important to all of us. When that gate is sometimes locked, I get several phone calls each day asking about it. It's our only access to Plaza America without going a mile out of our way. And so for a pedestrian, a mile is a really long way, especially in the summer, especially if you're pushing a stroller, things like that. It's so important to our quality of life. I beg you to keep that. I also, it's also our access to the bike trail, a safe access. If you're going with your kids on your bikes, it's safer to access the bike trail by going through that gate and riding along American Way than to try to take them up along North Shore Drive where there's tons of parked cars and tons of traffic, and then down Old Reston Ave. It's just not safe. So that's how we get to the bike trail. It's how we get to Plaza America. It's how in the future we'll be able to access all these wonderful paths you have planned. We really, really need that access. And also I'd like to make sure Charter Oak Cluster is invited to that meeting on December 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner Carter, would you like to weigh in here?
Yes, I won't be long. I think we need a little more design time on this trail access. I had forgotten about that actually, but there's also a driveway that goes back to a historic site, and it's somewhere along here. And then there's access to the old town hall and church. So maybe some design talent that for both of those items. But there's a driveway in there somewhere that connects back to that historic house. So I would probably show those. We haven't mentioned it. I guess I should bring it up. This whole notion of the gated community and I don't know that the discussion is over with on that. So this, preferably this would be open. It's gated there at the office building. Certainly a good job to move it back beyond the townhouses, so you don't have to go through the gate to get to your townhouse, but that's not over with. And then a small point, the sidewalk, we've talked about this before, it seems to me on the wrong side of American Dream Way. I'm not sure why it's over there. Seems like it should be on the west side rather than the east side of American Dream Way. That would get people better down to to Sunset Hills. What else?
And Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
I think the reason that was set up that way is that's where the crosswalk is across Sunset Hills is on the eastern side of
I see.
Greenway.
I see.
And so it goes from sort of the southern side, and then as you curve around, we've got a crosswalk to get across to that side, which connects you to the crosswalk across Sunset Hills.
I'm surprised the crosswalk isn't on the other side, but anyway. So yeah, and along with those design points, a small detail is I would show the parking for the trail users and the bikes area, and then Michelle's notion about the school buses. And last but not least, just a little bit more room. I would get out of the EQC altogether. You've got 2 or 3 encroachments of a minor way, and I think a little bit more time could get you out of that, and we don't have that discussion. And then I think that this park is one of the most glorious parks in Reston, I think, today. It may not have much private access, but it certainly is a very glorious park. And then combined with the future Nova Park, even if that remained largely as forest, I think is pretty glamorous for Reston. So anyway, enough of me.
Thank you, John. Scott, one more quick comment here is there was a proffer regarding the recreational contribution that's required for the residences, and that's going to be paid monies to an offsite location. Can you speak to where the offsite location may be in proximity to this site?
I actually don't know where the county would want to use that. I think we have the proffer set up so that it's in the vicinity of or for parks that would serve the future residents here. But once we make that contribution, the county likes the flexibility to be able to use that at the areas where they think there are park needs.
Yeah, the issue we have here in Reston is, we that live here in Reston are trying to get these recreational facilities at least to a location that's more conducive to the residents who need them. And sometimes, the county can have facilities pretty far distant. So
yeah,
it is
we agree. We'd love to have the that money spent somewhere close to the site, but we've never had much success trying to I guess dictate to the county or suggest to the county where that money should go.
Okay, so Scott, we started with, we thought we might be looking for a vote tonight for you, and then obviously you've kind of backed off and hearing some of the comments and some of the public comments. I think you've heard a lot tonight, a lot of good things and what this development is doing, and then some of the things that need maybe some relook. I guess my biggest concern is hearing that some of the the community nearby had not felt that they had been spoken to or reached out to, and that's become critical here in Reston to make sure that happens. And so I'm glad to hear that there is a meeting coming up, but it sounds like we'll have to schedule you to come back at a later date.
Yep, understood.
All right, I don't have any other parting words. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for the time, and look forward to coming back here soon.
Michelle, I'll get on those lights. Sorry for that.
All right, thanks for that, applicant, and we'll move on to our next applicant. All right, so 9 o'clock, and we're up for the Haley Rise Block C. This is another FDPA application. Representing the applicant tonight is David Gill from Wire Gill.
Great. Thanks, Rob, for that introduction. I have also with us tonight is Jay Johnson from Ownership, as well as Pete Crawford from Engineer, Civil Engineer. And this is as a reminder to everyone, an FDP. That means we just review it. It just goes to Planning Commission for their vote, and it is just reviewed against the approved proffers in CDP. We've been back in front of you the past 2 months to answer questions, and a few more came up related to stormwater we talked about at the last time around. And my hope is that we're finally through the process with staff and can get a vote with you as well. Just on that front, we were originally scheduled for November 17th, but late last week, Katie Quinn reached out to us, asked if she could get a little more time to write her staff report. She was just frankly swamped. So we said, that's okay from our perspective. We're advancing the site plan independently. So public hearing is now scheduled for December 8th. Frankly, I think filling in on that planning commission hearing date. Katie probably will have the staff report out on the 23rd of November is what she started. We do have draft development conditions from her, and I'm happy to share those as well. Just as a reminder to everybody, let me go ahead and start sharing the screen here. So this is the project that we were talking about. On the left is what was approved in Haley Rise as part of the CDP, and on the right is the FDP that we have been talking about. For everyone's edification of where this is in the world, I'll just page down one more. This is the overall Haley Rise development. This would be, Reston Parkway along the east. Just to the north would be where the toll road is, and then Sunrise Valley here on the south side. USGS would be just down the road here. The block we're talking about is what's called Block C, which is this block. It is 2 residential towers surrounding the parking garage. And I'm happy to go back through the pictures that I've shown before from the different facades, but those have not changed from the last time we have talked with you. There were a couple of questions that were raised that I wanted to make sure get answered. One was from Michelle in relation to what is the school pyramid here. And we went back and looked. This is in the South Lakes pyramid. The elementary school would be Dogwood. Then they would go to Langston Hughes and to South Lakes. In addition, for a particular spot for where the school bus might line up, it is exactly what Scott Adams said. And when we get to site plan, we coordinate with Fairfax County Public Schools on where that location would be. It would likely be a unified spot here on Road C, which is our north-south road. Our lobby entrance for this building and the other building is basically in this location along the first floor. It reaches to the corner and all the way over to here for this building. So they would likely come out here and be parked along here for that particular access. There were also questions about how the open space works, and I can go ahead and talk about these. I think we talked briefly about this last time, but this says dog park. It is not a dog park, it is a fitness park. And this has actually been constructed. So if you've been out to the site, you can go and see it right now and see what it looks like. In addition, we have the Central Crescent Park, and that comes online, I think, as a different block, not ours, comes online, and will be coming online soon. There's a large central lawn with that, a specialized play area with hopefully some unique play structures here, and then a large and more active rec area for older kids and adults, reflecting a volleyball court. And then this is the dog park on the far side of the project. This has actually been constructed as well and can actually be used right now by the public. The other question was in relation to stormwater. Again, stormwater, when it came through, was looked at for the site overall, and we didn't have any control over that particular proffer. But my understanding in working with Pete Crawford and with Mark Looney at Urban, who was the original entitlement for the overall project, that both these ponds are now being amenitized and opened up to the public and given programming around each of the ponds. The reduction in phosphorus and in the rate is a 40% improvement over the requirements for this particular application. In addition, we also have done additional impervious area compared to the approved CDP. So the original approvals on stormwater were based on this block and its imperviousness, and we have these courtyard cutouts and these courtyard cutouts here and here to help improve that. In addition, we've also committed to the green roof here. That will be 35% green roof on this location. You have to back out some for some of the walkways and some of the areas around the pool, but when we did the math, it comes out to about 35%, and that's reflected in our development conditions. Other than that, we're very excited about bringing this project forward and really excited about the opportunity to be in Reston. With that, we're happy to answer any questions before we jump through too much more, because I want to make sure I get everything answered for everyone here tonight.
Thanks, David. So again, if I understand correctly, you have a planning commission date of December 8th that you think is going to hold, and you are looking for a vote from us tonight. So let's go on to committee comments. I'm going to go now on the backward order. Michelle, I'm going to start with you, if that's okay.
Sure. Hi. I don't have any specific questions other than, I mean, it would be good, obviously, to see the staff report.
Agreed, and I'm happy to, forward that to people as soon as it's available, obviously, on the 23rd, but that's when Katie said she would be able to get it completed. She anticipates it'll be an improvement.
And have there been any comments from the staff that you think you're expecting any additional changes?
We are not.
Okay. I'm gonna let others talk because I mean, I still have my concerns with the crosswalk just to the north, or the lack of one, I guess. But it seems that that's just outside of the scope of what you guys are doing. But I do have serious concerns there. Okay.
David, let me just ask you, related to that question, since we don't have a staff report, you did forward the proposed development conditions to the committee. Can you clarify, were those actually written by the county, or were those draft conditions that you all wrote?
No, those are written conditions from Katie to us, saying these are what I'm going to include in our staff report.
Okay.
And we did not have an issue with that.
It just because it does say that they recommend approval to the planning commission, and I know that's not the official formal document, but it just gives an indication of at least where the county's staff is at this point. All right, let me go back to my list here. Katie.
Yep. Hey, I know I talked about this last time, but I'm just gonna say it again. On the trees lining Reston Parkway, I know you guys are probably gonna put in whatever the minimum, feet that the tree's supposed to be, but it would really be great even for your people who are gonna be living in those apartments or condos to have some privacy. So I hope you guys just put in bigger trees than what is the minimum required when you plant them.
That, Katie, that's our goal too. I mean, it makes those units more marketable from day one. And just for clarification again, Brookfield is putting in the streetscape. The four corners of the building, this gray area, unfortunately, are what we have control. Brookfield, under what's called a PI, Public Improvement Plan, is putting in everything sort of outside this dotted line. So we are putting in the trees, but the sidewalk and the trail is what they're putting in. Jake, that's the correct delineation? Sorry. Jake.
Yes, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then in terms of the tree caliper, we're trying to put the largest caliper tree in that we can that's still acceptable to the UFMD to ensure survivability growth over time.
Right, I know. I know. It's like minimum, just, I don't know. I just look, I live off of Sunrise Valley, and I see all these little trees that they've planted in front of all the townhomes.
Well, and we're trying to stay away from the little volcanoes too at the bottom.
Yeah, it'll be decades before they actually provide any sort of, look as compared to the rest of Sunrise Valley.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. So it looks like on the list I'm next. David, I appreciate you clarifying some of the points that the committee made last time, just that, where the entire project does stand stormwater management wise, and the fact that you do have a little bit of green roof in the development. I still like the way that the massing is being changed along Reston Parkway from where it used to be to now, and I think that's a huge benefit to this project as a whole. So I like everything that you guys have done. We'll move on to Sue Straits, and then David Varnell after that.
So, what Rob said about the massing, that was my concern, and you've addressed that well, and I appreciate that. The other item is the landscape design and materials are quite attractive, and I would also echo Katie's concern that we really need much larger trees there. So.
And I don't have any specific questions. I think the project looks and has evolved into something really nice.
Thank you, David. Let's go to Matt, and then followed by Tammy after Matt.
I also really like where this is going. It's a pretty limited scope as far as what we're looking at here. I agree with the comment about the trees, but I think even adding into the trees, I mean, just the whole streetscape and kind of pedestrian experience is important. So it's not just trees, although that's important, but it's other aspects of that as well. It's kind of hard to see on this drawing what's going on in there, but is that
I have
the
more
idea that what's that?
I have more details of that, Matt. If you want to go into it from the prior two presentations, I have those you
No,
know,
I remember seeing it. I remember seeing it before, but maybe you can, if you've got a drawing available, maybe we could take a
yeah, so
quick
this,
look at it.
yeah, so this is the
I do like the
road
architecture.
yeah,
So
the south side of the block. And then
yeah.
this is getting into the pedestrian streetscape or turnaround. In this particular picture to the left would be the office building. And sorry, so I learned to,
Yeah.
this would be the main
Yeah, I
entrance
think,
to our park.
I mean, I don't have any major concerns. I just wanted to call attention to that. I mean, the trees are important, but the planter boxes and the pavers and benches and street furniture and things like that are also kind of part of this fabric, and they all need to work together. But I think I really like the way this is coming together right now.
And just on that point, Matt, too, we actually do have a little bit of a larger gutter pan here to allow folks to get out when they do parking. You can actually see it here where she's getting out. Because I know there's been some concerns that, for example, even the planning commission level, that some of our tree pits get depressed off the curb, and so you end up like stepping into a pit. And we really
Is that are they like bioswales? Is that why you were looking to do that?
well, no, we weren't looking to do that. I think there's been concerns sometimes in the planning commissions in these urban framework that is an issue. And we paid special attention to make sure that where we're activating the street with that parallel parking, they can actually get out.
Well, I like it. I don't have any other questions.
All right, thanks, Matt. Tammy.
Thank you. I have a couple concerns. The building, Tower A is to the right, correct? And Tower B is the left, which is the Texas Donut. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So the terrace that surrounds the sea, the hollow of the sea for Tower A, that is on the sheet. The whoever wrote this, the planner, the county planner looking at this, is talking about the pool service area. We talked about this before, and you said it's not a swimming pool, but it's a water feature. Is that correct?
Yes, that's my understanding. Is it's going to be a water feature rather than a traditional pool. Jay, correct me if I'm saying that wrong.
No, David, Tammy, the plan now is to be flexible with that. The idea is that it's primarily looked at as a water feature. The area is relatively constrained. We do have schematics where we could put in a pool equipment room, the required indoor access through the bath facilities to the deck area. We just haven't made a decision on what's going to happen there. But this shows the. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm interested in what you're planning there.
Right. So this is one potential for the courtyard area, this elevated courtyard area. Again, we may put in a small pool with a splash deck. We may not. That would be more of just a passive rec area, people to lounge, congregate. We have grill area, seating areas. We might add a little more green space, obviously, where the pool would have gone. We're still working on that.
Okay. And is this entire Block C rental?
Right now, that's I think where we're leaning. We did talk about ownership originally, and it's possible the left building could still go ownership.
So the C-shaped building could be owner.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So then the WDUs and/or ADUs, whatever formula you settle on with the negotiated requirements, will be split, right, between the two buildings, because that is what is required. Not that all of the WDUs be in one buildings and none in the other.
Sure. So we're largely locked in by what the proffer says on that, Tammy, which is 15% compared to the normal, what is now 8% for WDUs. So it will be 15% of the total number of units as WDUs at 3 different tiers: 100% of AMI, 80% of AMI, and 70% of AMI. We very likely will be putting those buildings in first, and because the building on the right is what's been delivered first, most of those units, if not all, will be in that building. Very likely when we do deliver it.
I have a huge problem with that. they're supposed to be equally distributed between the whole project. And I don't know, I don't know what your proffer says, but I thought the new rates as of February 20 were 60, 70, and 80% AMI.
Correct. And that is what the new policy says for new rezonings. Under that new policy, you only have to do 8% of your units.
I understand that.
Right. So I think when this was negotiated with Mark, and I'm speaking for him, he's not on this call, part of the discussion with Commissioner Carter was doing more units than you would typically get, which was 12%. We're getting 15%, and with the lower tier at the time, which was that 70 tier.
Well, if you're doing 15 and you have 100% AMI, we're not helping the people that need the help. So that would be the point. Those 100 and 120 AMIs were always ludicrous. So I don't care what Mark negotiated, that's not helpful. But we're an equity, diverse community, and we split our units equally. So this idea that they're all going to be on one side and the other side is going to be more luxurious and have this open courtyard and maybe a pool. Is the Tower B going to have access to this?
Yes.
Terrace.
Yeah, that's a shared amenity, Tammy. That's for both
Okay,
buildings. And as David mentioned earlier, we are considering for sale for the West Tower, the smaller tower, the 120 unit. This is where our program is, but that's going to be market driven. We are leaning more heavily toward this being 100% of a rental community. And as David also mentioned, the construction sequencing has us completing the East Tower first. There is a provision in the policy that you have to have at least 75% of your workforce units delivered before you can get a U of O in that facility. So that's his earlier comment about where we will trend. We will know before we start construction, obviously, what our exit's going to be. But at this early date, I can't tell you for sure. We're going to hold the right that we might make the West Tower for sale. We're just not 100% sure right now.
Yeah, I appreciate your ennui on that. I'm just not comfortable with it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tammy. Let's go on to Rashali.
Hey, Rob, I don't really have any comments. Again, I do agree with the fact that this is definitely a better solution in terms of massing and breaking up of the facade along Reston Parkway. So definitely an improvement there. And would just like to again encourage you all and also request you to consider native landscaping when you consider your species for plantings. That's all I have.
Thank you, Rashali. I think we lost Shelley, so we're on to John Capilla.
Rob, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you for your time. In terms of most of it, I think it's great. I echo the thoughts on the trees along Reston Parkway. I don't really feel like we've resolved that, and I still think we really need to hone in on what exactly we're doing there. I.e., I think we need mature trees, not the spindly trees that have been planted on many of the other developments.
All right, thanks, John. Mike Jennings.
I don't have any questions. Things look good. Nothing addition beyond what's already been asked.
Thank you, Mike. Jake.
I as well don't have anything to add. I don't know if Reston Parkway is going to be widened or if it's already as wide as it's going to be. I know that intersection is going to be redone at some point, so I would like to see more mature trees there, but if they're going to put an overpass or something there at some point, I'm not sure how that would affect those trees. So I can to be determined.
So Jake, there will be a third lane added as part of Brookfield's PI plan when our project moves forward on
Okay.
southbound Reston Parkway.
Thanks.
All right, I think I got everybody. I do want to go to Commissioner Carter. I do want to say, Jose, and is anybody from the public? I'm not seeing anything in the chat.
I see Mike McDermott. I don't know if he had a comment or not, though.
No comment.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
All right, Commissioner Carter.
Just briefly, do the drawings reflect the widening of Reston Parkway?
These do here, correct.
Okay. Same concern about the WDUs. We always get them mixed. And let's see. Maybe we could come up, I don't know what conditions, didn't get a chance to look at the conditions, but for the streetscape, you're doing all the things that we try to get a lot of other applicants to do. So maybe we can wrap that into a condition that basically describes what you're doing, not doing anything extra. But
Yeah, John, I think that the reason staff didn't want to include some of the things you talked about in terms of like the four square things, the ramps, because they're outside of the limits of the FDP, which is really the sort of gray square here, which is sort of the push-pull with this part of the process.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, maybe we can still look at that and the Reston Parkway, whether a condition. I'm not proposing anything new, really. I just would like to start getting these things down.
Yep.
Okay, that's enough for me.
Okay. Unless anybody else has any questions, this application is here looking for a vote tonight. We would need a motion to make that happen.
This is Mike Jennings. I move that we vote to approve this.
All right, do I hear a second?
Sue Straits, I second it.
Sue seconds it. I noticed Shelley's back on the line. So Shelley, do you want to comment during the comment period with the motion?
No. I just reiterated everything that has already been said.
Got it. Thank you. All right, so there's a motion on the floor to approve the application. It's been seconded. I guess this is always hard to do this virtually because I don't have everybody's picture.
Rob, when we do it on the comp plan task force, we just have everybody raise their hand in the chat and the participant thing there.
Yeah, we tried that last time and not everybody was very good with that. Let me,
Rob, do you want me to stop sharing here so that you can see everyone? Or?
Yeah, I was going to suggest that will help.
Yeah, let me just, yeah, that helps a lot. Okay. Well, let me just do this. For Charlie, yes, yes or no with the motion?
Yes.
So yes to the motion. Okay, let me go down this list here. All right, Mike Jennings, you already made the motion, so you're Shelley.
Yes.
It's a yes. Sorry, I'm also taking notes here. Sue. Is that a yes? Okay, then David. So 2 yeses there. All right, let's see, Katie.
Yes, but really, I want to see bigger trees.
All right, a qualified yes. Matt. Is that a yes, Matt?
Unmute myself. That's a yes.
All right. Let's see. I got David. Jake?
Yes.
And then John? John, we're not hearing you. I'll come back to John. Michelle?
That's a no for me.
Okay, John's a no. All right, Michelle.
I really don't like the road to the north of this one, but yes, but I would like to see you guys work on that to make this actually a walkable area and safe for all pedestrians, including those in South Reston.
All right, and then Tammy, thank you, Michelle.
I'm a firm no, based on the worry about the equity in the WDU ADU issue.
All right, I believe I've got everybody. So we have 10 yeses and 2 nos, with a total of 12 people with whoever, those who hung on here. So motion passes. All right, thank you, David. Thank you, Jay Johnson.
And Rob, I'll forward you the hard copy of the staff report once it's available as well. So you can
David, that would be awesome. Yes, and then we can distribute that.
Okay.
will do.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay. You know, as far as any more administrative items tonight, honestly, Michelle and I did not get together to talk about meeting minutes tonight. I know she distributed meeting minutes for the previous 2 meetings, I believe. I don't think we've seen meeting minutes for the last month's meeting.
I sent those too. I think we should be caught up now.
You do? Okay.
We
Okay.
should be caught up, and I don't believe I've received any edits.
Yeah, I thought they looked good to me, what everything I had. So I certainly would entertain a motion if anyone wants to. Yes, Dan?
I move we approve the last minutes. Michelle, can you give us the months?
Yeah, let me pull it up and see. Sorry, trying to work off of 2 screens and bouncing around. While I pull it up, Rob, did you have an update on the website?
So the last time we spoke, we talked about, you know, what our opportunities are for a website. It looks like Fairfax County is not in a position to help us from a IT support method. There just doesn't seem to be a mechanism to do that. I still think we could probably find a way to, you know, have some maybe, you know, drawing references and things to maybe the supervisor's website and that sort of thing. But we do, you know, need a better and more robust website. You know, the reason we have the kind of the wonky website that we do today is because it was free. And someone was willing to, you know, go the extra mile to get that teed up for us and set it up. But you know, we pay nothing to operate that website. So, you know, other options that are out there, there are, you know, other relatively inexpensive websites, but you know, we're not a group that operates on a budget. So it just becomes a little bit of a quagmire as to what to do next.
So I just like to propose, you know, we could each chip in $10 and probably be able to afford something that would fit our needs. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be a substantial amount coming from those on the committee, if there was an interest in doing that.
And Michelle, just to be clear, I think that'd be like $10 a year, right? Because we'd have the annual fee.
About $10 a year, I think.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me, if that helps.
Yeah, I would do that.
I don't have any big objection to that. And you know, if there were some members that just, you know, that bothered them, that, you know, we could probably work through that as well.
I think it would also just be one yearly payment made. I think I'll confirm, but then that would also make it so we can figure out the exact amount and won't have to have any funds carried over or worried about who's keeping track of money that wasn't spent. I think we can just break it down by exact cost spent.
Okay. So are you volunteering to further that investigation?
I'd be happy to, sure.
That'd be great. So
This is Jake, Rob, and Michelle. Has there been any discussion about what the committee wants as a whole for a site like this to do? Because I mean, like you said, it's what's there has been inherited. It's free. It's, you know, at best 12 to 15 years old technology. So I just was curious if there's ever been any discussions about what you know, what features people would want. I mean, I know some things I would want, from being able to provide files to the public, or to have multiple people administer it in a very straightforward way, rather than having, you know, one person have to edit the thing because it's just old. You know, just have it be more of a modern platform, for one, is what I would like. But just what you'd like to see on it, from people being able to sign up for information or for updates to the site more easily. Just, you know, something that's probably created with a button right now, which is not available on our site. But I don't know if that's worth having a separate side meeting at some point, or if people want to submit any type of comments to you or me or Michelle directly.
I think that would be a great idea. I think the theme of simplicity would be key, and thinking that our audience is really the public and the community. And so how can they get the information? Because I think that's one thing that's just lacking. We get the plans, but they don't. So that's what I think, is just making it easier to engage with the committee, and also stay involved as a, you know, just civic engagement project, which is how I view this.
Hey, so Michelle, do we have any idea how many people are checking out our website every month, roughly?
I don't know, Jake, do you know? I mean, one thing we could also see is about how many views we're getting on the YouTube. If anyone is still watching in the future, we'll look and see. But Jake, do you get site stats at all?
Oh no, of course not. I mean, who do you think this is? You know, this is not in any way, you know, I mean, I'm almost using a WYSIWYG editor on this thing. I mean, it's an old Google site is what it is. So there's not a lot of details about any of that stuff.
What's a WYSIWYG editor?
It's all right. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I got it. But, you know, I think there's a lot of very cost-effective website building companies right now that do just a very good job visually, that make information accessible, and that we could benefit from. And it could also be a thing, though, Shelley, to your point, if, you know, I think most sites now would provide at least some form of Google Analytics that you would be able to see. If we see that just no one goes, then, you know, we can consider it at some point if it's worth the investment. But I think even if it's just, you know, a handful of people providing that information to the neighbors that, as we heard tonight, they're not necessarily getting, I think that that's worth it, even if it's just a few people.
Yeah.
Can we get a subcommittee meeting on this, or people, just anyone who cares? Rob set a date that's not a task force or an RPZ meeting, and you know, those that can show up, and it doesn't have to be long, just a brainstorming, and you know, make a bullet list and give it to Michelle so she has an idea of what, excellent point, Matt. We need to know what it is we want in Jake. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Michelle had already given some great ideas a while back to me, and then we explored them a little bit with the county and with Jose and the supervisor's office. And so, you know, I think there are a number of different things that we can combine and do. But as everybody's saying, I think it's public accessibility to the information is probably the key. And if we could make it easier for applicants to maybe get information to us, maybe that's another goal. And you know, we can develop a little bit of a list, and then see what our big dollars can buy us. All right. Well, I appreciate that. That's good discussion, and we can take that again offline. I think.
On
So
the meeting minutes, yes.
yeah.
October 20th, I distributed the October, September, and July. On the October meeting minutes, I have to go back. The only edit I need to make that I know of is just putting in the YouTube URL for that meeting.
I make a motion, we accept those minutes with that edit with the URL for those 3 months.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye or wave your hand.
Hey.
Aye.
Anybody opposes, let me know. Great. Motion passed. Anything else?
Yes, one last thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Hopefully one last thing. So okay, I got this giant envelope from Cooley on the the promenade details. And they seem to feel that their proffer is complete, that they mailed this out, and that if anybody has any concerns, they can get questions back. I don't think that's what we had in mind, at least I didn't. And this is such an important project. This is so visible in Reston. It is the, entree off of Sunset and Wheelie. And I would really like them to come forward and have a presentation. It can be short, but John Carter worked his buns off on this to change it from what it was to what it has become. But I'm not seeing enough in these drawings to have a confidence that we're getting everything, or that we, can ask questions. We know that they apparently are doing building B first, and that the Marriott Hotel with condos above it is on hold, but I thought that was going forward too. But anyway, I for one would like Cooley to show up and give us, it's virtual, what's the deal, so it doesn't have to be a long, but that's my concern.
All right. For those who, I just want to make sure everybody, this is what Tammy's talking about. There's a set of drawings that Comstock sent out, and I just want to see if everybody got them, first of all, because some people had indicated they did not see them.
I did not get mine.
I got
Mine
it.
never arrived.
I got little printouts. I didn't
got
get
'em.
what you got, Rob. Looks like you got more.
So, yeah, so I'm not sure what's going on, but Tammy raises a good point here. What that at least packet was supposed to be was in response to a previous approval of Reston Station that they come back to the committee for feedback. And unfortunately, I don't think it was very well defined in terms of how that feedback would be given back to them. We had the same problem with the site across the street with the sound walls, where we got plans given to us or sent to us, but with no real intent to have a dialogue back with us. So a little lesson learned for me on this is, I think we have to be stronger in our approval condition when this comes up, if we're asking applicants to truly come back to us to truly have a dialogue, instead of just sending us some drawings and hoping will go away. And so it's not to say we can't ask Comstock to come to one of, to the committee, and the packet that at least I received, it didn't have a lot of detail in it, and the landscaping looked pretty bare minimum, and it didn't answer John Carter's typical questions about streetscapes and what they were, supposed to be enhancing. So I was, left with probably more questions than answers on that packet.
I think since I would have to imagine we're going to hear from and see Comstock in other capacities, that they would, recognize that it would be good to come back and have a real discussion of this. So to the extent that we can really push for that, it seems that it would be good just as far as general relationships go.
I agree. I will reach out to Cooley and ask them to do that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And if you didn't get this, guys, those who did not receive this big glossy fancy thing that's about 8 pages, please ask for it.
Really sad. I just got the cheap printouts. Wait, this is mine.
No. That's crazy.
They sent a courier to give me the cheap printouts.
No, a crazy little man came in an orange shirt in his private car. Ding dong. Yeah, no, that's nuts.
Must not be doing something right, Tammy. You got the nice ones.
Yeah, let me ask, if anybody did not receive a package or you received a cheap package, let me know so I can let Cooley know to maybe get that package out correctly.
Before they show up.
Yes.
I didn't get any package, so just but I am meeting with them Thursday.
He needs to
I
have
thought this was a comprehensive sign plan, not a complete review, but I'll find out for sure Thursday.
Okay.
I have a quick question, and I don't know if this is something, probably not something our committee would handle or even have a say in. Maybe John Carter is the better person, but I don't want to die on this hill of trees, but I really see like the large trees getting taken down, and then I see what they're planting, and they are just so minuscule in size compared to everything else in Reston. And I get it's like whatever the minimum is for Fairfax County. How does that minimum, can that not be increased? Like to just something more substantial than what they're planting? Like, am I the only person that I mean, I'm sure you all recognize this, but is there something that can be done?
I think so, and I'm working on this to a certain extent, but there is a thought in Fairfax County is that trees should be planted smaller because the smaller trees last longer and they catch up eventually. I don't happen to subscribe to that. And I do worry that other jurisdictions do a much better job than we do in making these places look more mature at a shorter period of time. I even have some time photographs of what we have in Reston versus some other areas. It's somewhat comical, I would say, but at the same time, it's very sad. But I think all the comments on Reston Parkway, we're good dealing with VDOT on that. They don't like trees. And we're dealing with the urban foresters in Fairfax County. Not to say that we shouldn't be pushing at this. But that's where it's coming from.
Is as a landscape architect and availability of bigger trees and,
That's a myth. You can get bigger trees. That's all a myth.
Okay,
If
interesting.
you want them, you can get them. We have some of the best nurseries in the whole East Coast right here, or at least close by and on the Eastern Shore.
I totally agree with Mr. Carter and think we can do a much better job of that. We really need to push on that. And the way we can make changes is by voting no.
Yeah.
What you described about 20 years ago, we called, quote, in quotes, a developer's tree, the small 1 or 2 inch caliper tree.
Yeah.
And what we should be asking for is at least a 3 or 4 inch caliper tree.
Yeah. The developer trees usually come with 2 or 3 leaves.
Yes.
Developer.
It's a twig, a stick.
Oh, God.
So, you know, I am a landscape architect, and when they say that the smaller tree survives better, there is some truth to that, but all that means is the larger trees just take a little bit more care, and that's what it's all about. And so for anybody that says that, you know, it can't be done, that is hogwash. It can be done. It just takes a little bit more tender, loving care for a little bit longer, and they'll do just fine.
The average tree in Washington lives 7 years. So if you plant them small, they never get anywhere. We can do better with the way we plant them and with landscape architects like Rob here, but we can do better and we should do better.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Let's let everybody get back to their personal lives at a decent hour here.
I move we adjourn.
All right.
I second.
Okay.
All moved. Jose, thank you for all your help.
Jose.
Again, have a good night, and everyone, and I hope you guys
Good
have a
night.
happy Thanksgiving as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. See everybody.